And welcome back. Or if you're new here, just welcome. And my name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And welcome to my top 10 worst horror of 2022. Now, I will explain in the best list exactly why I'm late finishing up my end of the year stuff, doing my December update and my best and top list of 2022. But yeah, here we are at the worst. I figured I would do it first so I can piss everybody off. Um, you have to understand diversity. I know that some of my worst may be on your best list, some of your best may be on my worst list, and that's great. That's cool. Because everybody gets some love, you know what I mean? And everybody gets some hate. So it's all perspective, it's all relative to how you feel. As far as my ranking goes, there's lots of things that go into why I dislike a movie. It doesn't have to be low budget or high budget, it doesn't have to be crappy CGI or good CGI. There's a lot of different factors. I may have a movie at the third worst of 2022 that's actually technically, cinematography wise or whatever, a lot better than some, than one down here at number 10, which would seem to mean I think it's better than this one, um, as we get closer to number one. But there's lots of things involved. It can be, did it go in a direction that I didn't want it to, or that I didn't like? Does it have something in it that I didn't like? Was there a disappointment factor? Was it something that I didn't think that it was? Did it turn out to be different than what I thought I was seeing? And so there's lots of different reasons. And with me, I'm very forgiving of low budget. I don't cry a lot about CGI unless it's so horrible that you can't not ignore it. Um, I think the biggest factors with me and not liking a movie is disappointment. I think that's probably my biggest factor in doing it, is being disappointed. Um, that's probably one of the biggest factors that goes into me disliking your movie. So we're going to do the top 10 worst, in my opinion, that I've seen. I may have seen things that you didn't, or you may have seen things that I didn't. So all of those things go into it. You'll be fine. I promise you. Even if you scream, no, 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 well, I'll probably the same thing about your worst list. Probably say the thing about your best list too. So it's all okay. It's all good. So let's get the show on the road. And coming in at number 10, and the reason that it's at number 10 is because I never really gave a shit about it to begin with. But Robbie. Now, it's no secret that I am no fan of Rob Zombie. I don't like Rob Zombie. I don't like his music, and I don't like him from what I don't know him personally, of course, but I don't like him as a person based on his output and the things that he does. That does not mean, though, that I go into a Rob Zombie movie hating it. I like the Devil's Reject trilogy. Some people call it the Firefly trilogy. I don't call it that because Firefly to me is the series, Josh Whedon's series, and the movie Serenity. That's Firefly. But I like the Devil's Reject trilogy. A lot of people don't like 31, but I love the movie 31 by Rob Zombie. I love both of his Halloweens, Halloween and Halloween 2. I like both of those movies a great deal. I had problems with them, but then again, that's Rob Zombie. It's not the movie that I had a problem with. It's him being a sexist, misogynistic pig. Because, if you strip if you have nudity that is so unbalanced and you strip females down to nothing, but keep the guys' clothes on while they have sex, it doesn't make any sense. And he is trash. and he seems to like throw in his lowest common denominator to appeal to the lowest common denominator. And that's the reason why some of his stuff I have issue with, because I'm not a fan of him. So coming in at number 10 is The Munsters. Oh God, what the hell was he thinking? Oh well, he wanted to do something family friendly. He wanted to do something different. He wanted to, pay homage to something he loved or whatever. Well, I've got two, and both of them, before the thing was halfway over, both of them were like, Dad, why? Do we have to watch the rest of this? It's not scary. It's boring. And it's not funny. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's boring. It's not scary. I don't know. Am I 3 years old? No, son, you're not 3 years old. Neither am I. But we're watching this thing and I don't know what it is. So if it was meant to be for GVs or kids or family oriented, I don't know. I don't have a single clue. All I know is that my two didn't like it. They were like, do we really have to watch this? It's so stupid. And yeah, it is. It really is. It's damn near 2 hours of just the boringest shit. So, of course, 2022, directed by Rob Zombie, starring the usual suspects of Rob Zombie. Oh, Sherry. Oh my God. I don't know. I just don't know. It's Rob Zombie. I guess that's all you need to know. So, yes, The Munsters, I gave it a 2. It was pretty low for me. But then again, I'm not interested in that shit anyway. But, yeah. So, The Munsters. Number 10. Rob Zombie's The Munsters. Number 9. This was released in 2022. It is the PG-13, of course. And it was directed by Iris K. Shem, and it's called Uma. Oh my God, that was so boring. I like what I just did there. Oh my God. Uma was very generic to me, supernatural, generational. Oh, I'm being haunted by mom's secrets, things. It's just like, yeah, I know. What? It's just very generic, very boring to me. I didn't think that it would be, it's not like I thought it was going to be a masterpiece or anything, but I thought it would be good. I thought it would be interesting, and it wasn't. So coming in at number 9, we have Uma from 2022. I just found the story generic. I found it same old, same old. There wasn't anything really special about it that made it stand out to me. And, this girl turning into the sphere of hers, turning into her mother. It was just, I just didn't care for it. I didn't like it. So, of course. Now, of course, you'll notice I'm not holding up any of these, because why would I have bought these unless I had made a horrible mistake, which I almost did on one of them. So that can happen, but I don't have any of these. There is one that I might end up getting, just the rare completionist moment, but no. At number 8, we have Crimes of the Future. David Cronenberg. Okay, well, I'm all about the weird shit. You know what I mean? I love Twin Peaks, and I love Blue Velvet, and I love Naked Lunch, and I loved, I like David Lynch, and I like Cronenberg, and I like the weird shit. Videodrome is a masterpiece. Crimes of the Future, I was like, okay, so you're being weird for weird's sake and gross for gross sake, and it's not that I wasn't paying attention, I mean, I paid attention. It was just like, I don't know who this was for, what the audience, I mean, I don't know who it was for. Was it for what? Body mutilators? Is that the like are they the ones who like got off on this? Because I don't know, I just found it was interesting in that the setup was good. Like, hey, what about a story about this? Humans adapt to a synthetic environment, but with new transformations and mutations. Um, they want to like do that, and I know there is a community of people like that body mutilation and body stuff and all of that, but it was just not my thing. I didn't think it was neat. I didn't think it was cool. I thought a lot of it was gross, and I didn't understand why anyone would do that. But I tried. I mean, I tried like to wrap my head around the analogies and the deeper shit. And in the end, though, I just thought I was really disappointed. I was really disappointed in the overall outcome of this movie. It just didn't do very much for me. So, number 8, Crimes of the Future, directed by David Cronenberg and starring Viggo Mortensen and Kristen, I Like Shiny Vampires Stewart. So now we're moving on to number 7. Number 7, 2022, directed by Lee Van Keet and starring Alicia Silverstone and James Tupper, and that is the shark movie, The Requiem. Yeah, well, that wasn't fun. What happened to Alicia Silverstone, I don't know. Why she would read this script and think that this was going to turn out well, I don't know. Could we call it errors in judgment? I see that I have not rated it. I will do that now with a 3 out of 10. Of course, a couple on a romantic getaway find themselves stranded at sea when a tropical storm sweeps away their villa, like their whole villa. Like, I've got a game on Steam called The Raft, which me and the boys love playing. I mean, that's cool. But, like, you know, that's a game, though. This is real life. It just like sweeps their whole villa out to sea, you know? It's like you're not on a boat and you're not on like a dock or something like that. It just sweeps your whole fucking house and your house is just floating. Their little villa. It's and they are forced to fight the elements while sharks circle below. Yeah, and it just did not work worth a damn. It wasn't scary. I think the sharks didn't look good. I mean, I love 48 meters down or 47 meters down and Uncaged, and I'm very forgiving. As people know, I love indie and I love low budget. I'm fine with it. I'm not stuck up in that way, but I expect something to be good, and the Requiem was really not. It will definitely not be showing up in my next Shark Week. So yeah, that's number 7, the Requiem, and number 6, we have directed by Keith Thomas and starring Zac Efron, we have the remake of Firestarter. No. First of all, I don't mind remakes at all. I'm not a remake snob by any means. I'm not a re-imaging snob by any means. There's lots of movies that some people won't even agree with me with, where I prefer the sequel or the remake, I'm sorry. I prefer the remake to the original. Hills Have Eyes is a big one. The Last House on the Left, that's another big one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, oh yes, I know, I should be like hung on a cross in the yard, right? But I actually prefer the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre to the original. So I'm not a remake or re-imaging snob. But you are tiptoeing in a dangerous area when you fuck with my favorites, is what I'm saying. Drew Barrymore and David Keith, and Heather Locklear in the original Firestarter, and George C. Scott, you know, um, you're on dangerous territory doing that anyway. But if you don't do it well, the CGI in this in Firestarter was just awful. It was enough for me to notice, and I didn't like it. It kind of distracted me. Um, it did not bring out the tension in me that the first movie did, the original movie. Um, Everything about the original was just fantastic to me. And you would think that this many years later that they could do the same thing, find people, cast and special effects and things that could do it justice. And Firestarter did not do the original justice at all. I didn't connect with the cast members. I didn't connect with the girl. I didn't connect with the dad. They didn't have oh gosh, I forgot her name. The old couple that they go to, the middle-aged couple that they go to, in the original. It just wasn't good. I didn't like it at all, compared to the original, and probably will not be buying it unless somebody gave it to me. We're up to number 5 now, getting really controversial with you horror fans. And that is going to be directed by David Bruckner on one of them goddamn streaming services. What is it? It's fucking Hellraiser. I fucking hated Hellraiser. I hated that shit. Hulu. Whenever I first heard that they were remaking this, and, it's like, oh no, man, is this a Captain Marvel thing? What's with the gender swap? Oh, well, Pinhead is a hell demon. It doesn't have a gender. I'm like, okay. Sure. Whatever thrills you, man. But I wasn't really happy with that to begin with. But that's okay. I watched it. And, probably halfway through it, I was like, it's like if you pour too much water in the brandy, which you're not supposed to do at all, but if you pour too much water in the brandy, eventually it's just going to taste like it smells like peach. You know what I mean? You're not going to taste the peach. It just kind of smells like it should taste like peach. Hellraiser was extremely watered down. It's like it's supposed to be rated R. But I was like, you have seen the original Hellraiser, right? You have seen Hellraiser 1 and 2. Yeah? You do know that this is Clive Barker, yeah? This is supposed to be bloody, sexy combo mashup. You know what I mean? There was nothing. It was very watered down. It was extremely watered down to me. I didn't think that it went places that it should. I thought it really bored me. I did not like this new Pinhead, and I didn't really like the rest of the Cenobites. It just wasn't what I wanted. That's just it. I just had no fun with it, and you can't make me have fun in something that isn't fun to me. So it was not fun. I didn't find it titillating. I didn't find it exciting. I didn't find it horny inducing. I didn't find it, there was just nothing about it that brought the same kind of feelings to me. And I'm not sure if people call this a remake. Isn't that more like a re-imaging? You know, it's just like a reboot kind of thing. And you can take that boot and put it in the closet because I didn't like it. And that's just the story. And I'm sticking to it. I didn't like it. I didn't have fun with it. So that was number 5, is the new remake, reboot, re-imaging, what the fuck ever, of Hellraiser from Hulu. Okay, moving on to number 4. Is dinosaur movies horror movies? Kinda. Like King Kong was a horror movie. So yeah, it's a creature feature. And that's what brings us to number 4, and that is Jurassic World Dominion. You fucking sucked. That movie sucked. It was 2.5 hours of PG-13 suckiness. Now, I'm not blaming it on the PG-13. Hasn't all of them be PG-13? But, you know, when the last movie ended, you were like, oh shit. This is going to be something, right? Because we have all of these dinosaurs going out into the world, and people are going to like be in trouble. Like, what we're going to do. So when I knew that Dominion was coming out, you know, I thought, well, we're going to see that, right? We're going to see that. We didn't see that. Instead, it's like I told me brother, I'm like, man, though, it's like when I was watching this movie, I kept thinking that I was in a James Bond movie, and I was waiting for Mel Gibson to rescue his daughter. I was like, why are you spending so much time on this international corporates conspiracy, and we got to rescue the daughter, and they got to find the genetic gene to, you know, and I'm like, this is supposed to be a creature feature. All of the others have been creature features. Why is like the dinosaurs in this movie like they took like a back seat to this almost British. It was almost like a British crime mystery, conspiracy theory, you know, and the dinosaurs irritated me too. Okay, now I know you're a raptor, right? I know you're a dinosaur. And I know that you're tough. Yeah. You can probably take a few licks. Yeah. But you are not going to crash through 20 brick walls and get hit by trucks and smashed by rocks and thrown all over the street while you can't seem to quite get your hands, or your talons, excuse me. You can't quite get your talons on Chris Pratt's ass on that motorcycle. And you are getting torn all to pieces. And there's not a fucking scratch on you. Not one scratch on the dinosaur's skin. He like goes through 15 brick walls and he doesn't even have like a scratch on his skin. And you're like, fake much? Can you be any more obvious? We know raptors don't really exist. Now. We know that raptors don't really, that we know of. They're probably in some fucking lab underneath an airport in Arizona, to be honest with you. But we don't know. We do know that, to our knowledge, raptors do not exist. This is true. But what we do know is that there's not one going to run through fucking 15 brick walls and not have a scratch on it. So even though we know that raptors don't exist and this is just a movie, we know this is CGI and or puppetry, but in this case CGI. So we know that this is CGI, but even the cheapest, shittiest indie movie will put a little CGI blood on something if it get hit by a rock. Okay, that chase scene really irritated me in the movie. Because like the whole time, I'm just like going, another wall? Did a truck just fall on that motherfucker? Oh, it just got hit by a truck. Well, yeah, I expected to still be after him, of course, because they got to make a chase scene. But then you notice that there's not a blemish on it, and you're like, I know the thing is tough, but it can't be that tough. Okay? An elephant can bust through a brick wall and it's going to have a scratch. So, I will say that I did love seeing the characters. They all still looked good too. Especially Sam Neill. He's going to do that Sean Connery thing. He's going to be fine till he drops dead. Because he's still cute at his age. And I love seeing Laura Dern. I love seeing Jeff Goldblum. I love seeing, and that was actually when I was the most interested, is when I was listening to them banter with each other. This corporate conspiracy bullshit thing, I understood it. Yeah, understood it. But why so much? Can't that just? That's supposed to be the backstory. This is supposed to be dinosaurs ripping the shit. I mean, I remember seeing most of the kills were off screen. There's that one where the guy got taken off the motorbike by one of them. But the dinosaurs just weren't there. They were there, but they were like an afterthought to this Mel Gibson rescue my daughter corporate conspiracy trying to figure out who's the evil bad guy, James Bond type stuff, and I was extremely disappointed. And there's why you have, why it would be so high on my list. This one had a very, very high disappointment level, which put it up to the top. Because, of course, visually, CGI from hell, what's the budget? $200 million or something? I mean, so of course, great sets, great, and all of this kind of stuff. But, so why would it rank higher than, something as crappy as an old shark, a B shark movie? Because the disappointment level, it sucked. I was bored shitless with it and barely got through it and was glad it was over when it was over. I was like, okay, I've seen y'all. Excuse me. But yeah, I was like, I've seen y'all. I mean, I had the nostalgia rush from Sam and Laura and Jeff and all of them. But once I had done it, because let's face it, I'm fucking tired of Chris Pratt. I'm just really tired of him. If I never see Chris Pratt's hand in front of a raptor again in my life, I'll be fine with it. I'm just tired of Chris Pratt. Go back. You can do Guardians of the Galaxy. But I'm just tired of him. Aren't you tired of Chris Pratt? I mean, maybe, yeah, I've just seen too much of you. Just go away. That's all I got to say. So number 4, Jurassic Park Dominion, or Jurassic World Dominion. Very, very disappointing. 2.5 hours of James Bond meets Mel Gibson searching for his daughter. That's what it was. Oh, and there's a few dinosaurs around. And that's it. Next, we come to number 3. Directed by Jordan Peele. And written by Jordan Peele. And currently, the only movie that I hated so damn much that I made a whole rant video on it. It's the only one so far that's got that treatment. And like I tried to explain, it was the disappointment factor. Now, I'm not going to go through this movie because you can go and watch a 30-minute rant video on why I hated this movie. But safe to say, this was not what I thought it was going to be. And what was that fucking monkey shit, okay? I cared nothing about the monkey shit. I don't care about the analogy. I don't care about none of that. The movie bored the fucking shit out of me, okay? The special effects, the entire carnival gets, people gets taken up in what looks like a bouncy house. The kids' bouncy house in the backyard. The flying saucer thing, granted, it turned out to be a thing instead of a it, instead of a flying saucer, but still better. I've seen better on 1957 photos of, Area 51. They just threw a pie plate across the yard and took a picture of it and tried to sell it to the newspaper as a UFO. Well, they looked better than that shit that was in Nope. It was boring. It was such a waste of potential. If I had bought it, I probably would have done something naughty, like cracked it in half or something, because I'd have been so angrily disappointed. Thankfully, I saw it before I made that mistake. It also taught me a very valuable lesson, and that is that we have to understand Jordan Peele has made 3 movies. Just because he made 2 really good movies does not mean that he has some great director and that everything that comes out of his mouth, let's go to the polite end, everything that comes out of his mouth is going to be sugar and roses, because that's not the case. I made that mistake. I expected way too much because I loved Get Out, because I loved Us. I expected this movie to be, fantastic, and it was not. I absolutely hated it. And it taught me that lesson, and that is that maybe you should wait until a director has put out a big enough catalog for you to actually pass judgment, rather than buying them a golden crown when it is not deserved. And it's not deserved. He made 2 good movies. And if you like Nope, he's made 3 good movies to you. That's really not a catalog for you to be crowning him some, the next Martin Scorsese. You know what I'm saying? Give it a rest. And I learned that lesson. I hated Nope. 3rd worst movie of 2022 to me. And there you go. Now we come up to number 2. We're down to the Face Off. Number 2, directed by David Blue Garcia and starring Sarah Yarkin and Elsie Fisher and Mark Burnham, and only an hour and 21 minutes long, so you're going to get points knocked off right there any damn way. If you make a movie under 90 minutes long, fuck you. You're going to get at least 2 points knocked off of whatever score I was going to give you, no matter how good you are. It's just ridiculous. So we have the Netflix reboot, remake, sequel, something, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was the biggest pile of stinking cow shit that I've ever seen in my life. I hated that movie. I just hated that movie. When you get into, it's tongue-in-cheek and you don't have a sense of humor. Well, to be quite honest with you, I never knew Texas Chainsaw Massacre was supposed to be a fucking comedy. Okay? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I never thought that was a horror comedy. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, granted, Next Generation is so funny, but that's because it's so fucking bad. But is the comedy intentional? No. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not a horror comedy or a comedy horror franchise. So, fuck you with that excuse. Well, you have to give it, it's tongue-in-cheek and all of that. No, it's not. It's supposed to be a horror movie. Okay? About a chainsaw psycho. It was absolutely horrible. My hated scene, which is what I've heard some people go, oh, I love the bus scene, with their little social media and their, that was the first time I turned it off. I turned it off during that bus scene. I was just like, oh, fuck that. I can't watch that right now. I'm not watching it. And later on, I ended up watching it again. I think it took me 2 times. I don't think I had to do 3. But it took me 2 times to watch that movie. And it was shit the way it, when they brought her back, and everything about it was horrible. After 48 years of hiding, Leatherface returns to terrorize a group of idealistic young friends who accidentally disrupt his carefully shielded world in a remote Texas town. Really? What is he, 105? I mean, what? What? Oh my gosh, I just realized. The cast. If you took Leatherface and you sat him in the middle of bodies, 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 and said, go through this house killing them all, you would have this movie. The cast was disgusting. And I hated everything about it. And that's just the way it is. So that is number 2. Worst horror of 2022, Texas Chainsaw Massacre from that Netflix place. And that brings us to number 1. What could number 1 be? What do you think number 1 is? Be sure to tell me what your number 1 is. But you just saw my list, so you probably have no idea where this is going, do you? I could throw something at you that is like, what the fuck? But number 1, most horrible piece of shit movie. It was very weird too, because it started out like the first 12 minutes, I was like getting into it, because it had Dee Wallace. And I'm like, I liked him, I liked her, they were riding. You see the rebirth of Jeepers Creepers Reborn. You see the birth of the creature. He's coming back out. It was alright. It didn't look glorious, but it was alright. So for about 12 minutes, I was okay. And I was like, okay, where are we going? And then she looks down the pipe. She screams. And that was the end of hers. Bless you, honey. I know you need the money, I guess. But at least your part was okay. Wasn't much but riding around in a car, but it was okay. It was alright. Then it became the absolute worst movie. It's got to be. It not only is it number 1 worst horror movie for 2022, but it has entered the top 10 worst horror movies of all time to me. Words cannot describe how much I hated this movie. The lead guy was awful. The lead girl was awful. Everybody was awful. The story was awful. The cinematography was disgustingly grotesque. It was like, what did they make this for? $100 or $5.95? And I don't mean $595. I mean like $5.95. They must have spent their entire budget on Dee Wallace. That's all I got to say. The way that this movie played out, I hated them so much, that couple. I despised them. Then when they got to the carnival, these horrible little people that they hooked up with, there was everything about this movie was so stupid. I don't understand how it got made. I don't understand how a human being, what is it rated anyway? 2.5? I rated it at 1. And let me tell you, I don't like people who rate movies on International Movie Database 1, because I'm like, come on, that's not real. Okay, you're just being an asshole. To my knowledge, aside from a Kirk Cameron movie or 2, or all of them, that's true. That is true. I think this is the only movie on International Movie Database besides Kirk Cameron's movies that I rated, or what? I hate Kirk Cameron. Like, I would love to see him, like, well, never mind. You don't want to know. But this is the only movie that I can recall that I have ever rated a 1. That's how fucking bad Jeepers Creepers Reborn is. I don't understand how it got made. I don't understand what adult, executive, the director. I just want to walk up and slap the fuck out of him and go, what were you on? Was it like the most intense form of crack that has ever been existed? How could you possibly sit down in a theater and watch this movie and go, good job, let's get it out the door? How could you do that? This is like the most horrible thing that I've ever seen in my life. The actors were horrible. The choice of cast members was horrible. The story went absolutely nowhere. What, some cult? What? That house, the special effects. Oh my god. This is the worst fucking movie. It's one of the top 10 worst movies of all time. So there is no choice. It had no choice but to take the crown and be the worst movie of 2022. Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I think Jeepers Creepers 3 should receive an Oscar compared to this. Okay? Jeepers Creepers 3 was just like, whatever. That's really all I had to it. Like a 5, 4.5, 5. I didn't hate it. It was just like, oh, whatever. But it's alright, whatever. 2 I loved. 1, of course, the original is fantastic. This, they should all 3 get, like, I'm like, bring the dude back that made them. He's been in prison. He's done his thing. Just fuck all that. Bring him back and bring Jeepers Creepers back, okay? Because this isn't it. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. Number 1, worst movie of 2022, Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I would actually, if I could find it for like $1.50 or something in a dollar bin or something, I would like bring it home. I would buy it to bring it home just so I could take it out into the backyard and burn it. I would like sit back, get a glass of apple juice, lean back, and just listen to the birds sing and the squirrels run around while I watch that piece of shit burn and burn and burn. That's how bad I hate Jeepers Creepers Reborn. And there you go. So, now that I have pissed you off, maybe? Did I piss you off? Did I make you upset? Did I pick anything that you're like going to call me bad, ugly names for? It's okay. You can. I'm alright with it. Truth is, when I go and look at your top list, I'll probably do the same thing to you, so it's alright. It's like, stupid idiot. How could he not possibly love that movie? Well, okay. Everybody's different. It's okay. We'll revisit that subject in the top 10 best. I know some of you motherfuckers are going to have something to say about that. But thank you very much for joining me and taking if you wish to take the time to leave your list, and I'd enjoy seeing it, or direct me to your video or your channel where you have your top 10. I've seen quite a few people's, so I do like doing that. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Love you, miss you. Bye bye. Always remember, never forget, you're a very special person. Even if you like any of these pieces of shit that I just listed off for you, you're still a wonderfully special person. And I love ya, miss ya. Bye bye. I'll see you in the top 10, which I will record right now. Bye bye.